This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, I talk with Micheál McGrath from Poppulo, all about B2B marketing and lead generation. Thanks for joining me today, Micheál.
I'm delighted. Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to talk to you.
So I suppose, Micheál, you're digital lead with Poppulo. If you would just tell us a bit about yourself and kind of about Poppulo and what you do there as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm digital team lead for Poppulo. Poppulo is a employee communications software company based in Cork. So essentially, what our software does is allows large organizations to communicate with their employees. So if you can imagine large corporations like Nestle during the pandemic, they would have had to get urgent communications out to all their employees across the world. Poppulo would have been the platform they would have used to do that. So it's not unlike a marketing platform in retrospect. It allows the communicator sending out those comms to target, to get analytics back, to get measurement back, to understand where their employee base are engaged or not engaged. But it creates huge value to organizations, allows them to understand where their audience is engaged, or where potentially they might have disconnect between employees and communications from companies. So my role, I sit in the marketing team. I kind of organize and work with a really talented channel team. So all your regular kind of marketing channels, and a real inbound approach, and in-house kind of marketing campaigns that we be running kind of day to day. So our job is very much focused on driving leads and driving contacts for sales and the overall brand of Poppulo.
Very cool. So in terms of your target market, I would imagine basically kind of quite large organizations generally.
Yeah, so organizations that have over really 1,000 employees is where we're kind of aiming at. But Poppulo, there is companies with less, but where we've seen the biggest success is even in the large enterprise type organizations, ones with 5,000, 50,000 plus employees plus. So some of the logos that Poppulo works with would be like the likes of Rolls Royce, the likes of ASOS, the likes of Nestle, those large kind of brands. And we have over 800 customers worldwide. And our offices are currently based in Cork and Boston. So that's how we're kind of managing that.
Very good. So I'm guessing you use Poppulo internally as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's such a real fantastic success story for Cork. Like the company itself was based in Bandon. Our CEO Andrew Shaughnessy is a Cork person, and it's a real tech kind of unicorn kind of idea. It's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Great to be part of.
That's fantastic. So in terms then of that target market, Micheál, I suppose is there specific kind of key decision makers that you're trying to get in front of, and two, what's kind of your process to getting in front of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Like B2B can be quite difficult to get in front of quite a niche that what we call internal communicators. That's our audience. So those people, that job title could sit inside marketing or HR, or it could be a department in itself. Often in large organizations, there's an IC department, and it can be very difficult to get into, the IC department and get your comms and get your advertising into the IC department of Nestle, and that can be a very difficult task. So we have to run some very highly targeted campaigns. We do a very strong ABM approach, and essentially it's a lot of coordination and a lot of kind of feedback between sales and marketing. We have a good relationship in terms of learning towards exactly who you're looking for, and what are their problems right now, and what's going to kind of resonate with those people. So we have a real strong relationship there with sales.
Actually, you sent me a really cool PDF there the other day, and when I went in and I had a look at it, I noticed one of the things when I would go to watch a webinar, then it sends me to the page to register for the webinar. So you're collecting that lead data straight from the brochure, basically.
Absolutely, yeah. So so the PDF I sent you was the on-demand version of a virtual event we just ran. So it's a PDF. It's like a brochure. It has 15 odd presentations from customers and best practice in the industry. So it was, I suppose, what we use that event for is quite a big lead gen approach. It's an opportunity to use the reach of all those 15 presentations, all the people presenting in those different areas. They all have their networks. We're trying to use that to bump up our own reach. And that event, although it was a single event, and in time, we really used the on-demand and repurposing that information that, like I sent on that PDF afterwards, and now you're leading our system.
But it's a great example of doing kind of one key piece of content, so your event, and then using it across. It's on your PDF. You're using it as lead gen. I'm sure you're going to use it across LinkedIn and social. So it's a really good example of taking that one piece of core content and repurposing it for lead generation.
Oh, absolutely! Like so that event, and it was a big deal for us. It was a full day. It was 15 presentations, but those 15 presentations are still running today. Like we're still repurposing them. We're still sharing out the on-demands. Most of those presentations became how-to guides, became top tips type kind of short written content. And then after that, even another level deeper, so many snippets and so many things for LinkedIn. And while that content was one day, it's lived for months afterwards, which is such a benefit for us because we get to have such a variety of comms going out right now.
I think that's such an important lesson for people either in B2B or B2C is, to repurpose that content. You can get so much from use a single day event, but I mean that's going to be tens if not hundreds of blog posts, so many PDFs, so many brochures. As you say, you can run the content, the video content from the webinars over and over and over again then as well.
Yeah, because like your persona that's out there potentially, you don't know exactly how they want to consume content. Like a day-long event sounds great to me. I'm okay with that. It's very organized. But some people just like to have drip feed content. Some people just want to have 6 bullet points. Some people want to have the white paper. So producing it in all different formats, it gives you a higher chance of success in reaching that person. So there's no winning solution. I think you just have to do all of it. Yeah.
And in terms then, Micheál, of LinkedIn, I'm guessing that's a fairly major platform for you in terms of reaching those key decision makers. How are you using that at the moment?
Yeah, so we have 2 strands of it. We have our organic LinkedIn and we have our paid LinkedIn. Organic, we have a great kind of a mix of kind of brand, mix of kind of lead generation content going up there, best practice content. All the time. So we've kind of a regular posting scheduled for that. For our paid side of things, like I'm a huge believer of kind of the inbound approach and running an element of kind of awareness, lead gen and nurturing. So we kind of divide all our campaigns up into that type of methodology. So we run in the awareness stage a lot of ungated video type content, a lot of brand related content, a lot about who we are. Lead gen then is best practice in terms of guides, forms, anything in terms of trying to get leads essentially in, and then retargeting, essentially using our website traffic, our video views, all that to bring people back in, and we give them more things like case studies, product demos, and nurture in that way. So I suppose we apply that methodology to most things we do.
So would you use the case studies and white papers kind of a good bit further down the funnel, so rather than kind of presenting them straight up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've learned over time, and I suppose if you run, I believe in the kind of thing called the lead generation kind of trap. Essentially, if you focus all your time on forms and register here and download this and sign up here, your conversion rates will grow stagnant. Your campaigns will go up and down, and you'll find it hard to create a narrative. I found when you have the awareness on top and the retargeting, you get way more consistent campaigns. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen the results out of that.
And it's not just quantity when it comes to leads as well, of course, it's quality. So that's going to help an awful lot in that respect, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah, totally. Like our sales team will want people that they can have a conversation with, and not necessarily downloading a guide will get them that. So they want to see multiple touches, so they can kind of see a storyline with this person. Yeah, they downloaded this and this and this. Therefore, now I have understanding of what their problems are, and I can actually have a conversation with them.
And in terms of that process, then we'll say when somebody downloads a white paper, downloads a case study, are you doing kind of automated email follow-ups? Is it handed over to a sales team? Kind of what's your process then?
Yeah, so it's a mix. There's a great collaboration, as I said, between us and sales. So we have certain kind of rules and guidelines that we try to adhere to. If we use HubSpot really strongly, so we have HubSpot scoring put in. So if a lead hits a certain score, they will be moved over to sales. If they don't hit that score, marketing will nurture them, and marketing will continue to nurture them no matter what. But there's just there's a lighter approach if sales are reaching out. And I suppose we use HubSpot, as I said. We have a number of workflows and automation that's really personalized based on the information they've given us and based on what guides they've downloaded and stuff like that.
Very cool. I was brilliant to have that automation in place. Takes a lot of the manual work out of it, and make sure, I suppose, by the time they do get to sales that they are very well qualified.
Yeah, and it just gives us the relief that when a lead comes in, they're getting the best of the best. Like there is a month of a flow. Our initial lead flow is 1 month long. It's whatever amount of emails within that month, and at least we know that's our best. That's the best of the best content. That's the most likely to convert that person over to sales. And what we then do on a kind of a quarterly basis is look at all the open rates and all the click-through rates on those emails, pick out the ones that have the worst averages, and we would then go, okay, let's tweak the subject line. Let's add in, let's change that piece of content. Let's do something else. So we're forever just tweaking this one flow, which gives us super confidence to know that at least we're doing the best we can.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. No, I mean, testing in terms of, LinkedIn ads, organic, email, it's the key to digital. I'm always banging on about it. But it really is so important. And especially, I would imagine, in your case, where it's probably not massive volumes of leads, because, as you say, you're quite niche. Making sure you're getting that right content in front of the right people is so important.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can, yeah. So it's difficult in regards to, it is such a small audience, but I suppose we can get consistent numbers if we produce like good quality content, essentially, as you said. Yeah.
In terms as well, I'm just curious I was thinking, like, obviously ourselves, we're B2B as well. One of the great things, I suppose, on the B2B space is once you've nurtured someone, they're a customer, they often turn into, down the line, a referral that they'll end up being someone that's going to send more business your way. I'm just querying, do you have a process? I've talked to some businesses and they actually have a process to talk with their existing clients in terms of delivering leads and referrals to them, basically. I was just wondering, is that something that you push, or is it just something you let happen organically?
So there's a number of kind of software review sites out there, in terms of G2 Crowd, Capterra, that kind of thing. We run campaigns to optimize those channels, because we believe they're kind of like mini sites for us, and we're getting traffic and we're getting good leads from there. So we do nurture that, and we apply, like, those programs are kind of set up in terms of how we work with them and we promote them as their template kind of allows. So that's one side of it. Another side of it for us, and I think it applies for most B2B, is the churn on B2B is quite large in terms of people moving jobs. So the average person stays in one company for a lot less than they did 20 years ago. It's 4 to 5 years now, whatever the average is. This generation moves jobs a lot more regularly. Therefore, there's an opportunity for SaaS companies, an opportunity for, because they're using Poppulo in one company and then they move to another. So they become a seed for another. So I suppose keeping really good relationships with your current database and then having a program in place to monitor those job moves. So we would have a program in place in terms of kind of SDR outreach or a marketing researcher type outreach in terms of monitoring if people are moving jobs. And it's using LinkedIn and Zoom Info and those type of platforms. And I suppose it allows us to congratulate the person for moving and then, you know, nurture them almost like a really, really warm new lead. So it's that's a campaign that you see a lot of value from.
I would think so, because they've already been using it, they're already sold, and if they're bringing influence into the new organization, and that's a brilliant way to gain a new customer.
And the chances are they're moving up. Like chances are they're probably going into a more senior, more stakeholder position where they might have the opportunity to buy. And people are creatures of habit in a way. They want to use the software that they're used to, no matter what's currently there, you know. So there is a case of that.
Cool. So I suppose, Micheál, most of our listenership would be kind of either, you know, SMEs, and also a lot of people in the marketing space, obviously. If you were in the SME space and in the B2B side of things, is there any particular tips you would give a business owner or someone in the marketing department of a B2B, specifically in relation to LinkedIn, or just some kind of tactics or strategies you found over the past couple of years that can work very well? Now, I know obviously it's a lot of it is industry specifics, so feel free to obviously be quite broad on it.
No problem. Like, I think, I suppose from my perspective and my thoughts on where marketing might be, future marketing and elements of that, is people's want to consume information is a lot faster, and they're willing to consume a lot more information than they were. And that's why I think you see podcasts and you see virtual events, you see all these things are exploding at the moment. And for our point of view is we want to create content that's really easy to be accessible. Like I suppose I'm starting to grow into more, although I'm a lead gen, that's my main KPI, that's my main objective. I'm way more inclined now to give out ungated stuff. I'm way more inclined to do like a virtual event, something that's like a lot of information that's really easy to assess, that's really easy for people to gain access to. So I'd focus on giving out the information that you possibly can in the cleanest way you can, and in the easiest way, rather than trying to hit your lead gen targets, trying to actually get people to convert essentially as easy as you can. Like, we've seen huge benefits from that virtual event, because we made it a really small gate entry. It was a single form, it was a free event, it was a big investment on our part, but the results are dramatic in terms of the amount of registrants we got. We got over 7,000 registrants.
Wow.
For essentially a 10-hour event. And that 7,000 has grown double, triple in the past, from actually pushing then the on-demand afterwards. So it was a monumental achievement, but I really feel like it was done because the gate was low. There was no it was on demand. It was the user knew that they could get in easy, and there was no bells and whistles about it. They could get into the content very, very quickly, and that was the achievement.
I think as well, from that you're going to see results from that, not just in the short term but for years to come, because that content is going to be shared and accessed for, you know, forever basically. Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that as well. There's a nostalgia effect that we're seeing on LinkedIn, that, you know, like, there's an awful lot of stuff with the pandemic, and there's a lot of change in the future of work, and that's all in our wheelhouse in terms of what content we need to produce. But people are still looking for the best practices from beyond, and they're actually probably more engaged with that because they're a little bit tired of the remote working stuff at the moment. I think there is a nostalgia effect that's like, oh, I just want the norm. I don't want to really, I want to focus on my day-to-day rather than actually thinking what remote working is going to look like, and so there is a bit of that we're noticing. So we find that the older content is really, if we re-promote it, we'll get a really good bang off it.
Brilliant altogether. Listen, thank you very much, Micheál. For anyone looking to find out more about yourself and more about Poppulo, where's the best place for them to head?
Absolutely. So I think poppulo.com is the best place in terms of the product, but in terms of my own profile, my LinkedIn profile is feel free to connect, and if anyone does have any questions in regards B2B or lead generation, I'm more than happy. I'd be delighted to answer any more questions.
Brilliant altogether. Micheál, thanks so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. If you haven't subscribed yet, please search the Digital Marketing Scoop at any of your favorite podcast platforms and subscribe. And if you'd like to follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram, just search for Click Media and Marketing. That's CLIQ Media and Marketing, and we'd love for you to follow us.